The Shrek collectible minifigure series is officially revealed and will be coming out in September. This is exciting for fans of Shrek, but also fans of LEGO Castle because there's a ton of custom minifigure potential here. As a huge fan of custom figures myself, I figured I'd rank these on the tier list. This isn't just based on how good the figures are overall, because I'm also looking at how useful their parts are for custom medieval fantasy minifigures. So while one figure might be more accurate to the movies, I may end up preferring another one because it has better individual parts overall. Starting off with Shrek himself, I have mixed feelings about the minifigure. His head honestly looks weird, the neck and toothy smile just don't look quite right to me. The rest of the figure is solid though. The legs, skirt, and torso could work well for some generic medieval peasants, and his accessories are nice too. I especially love getting more printed books. I'm gonna put him right in the middle at B tier since I don't like the head, but the rest of the parts are pretty useful for customs. Next up is Princess Fiona, and while she suffers from having an ugly head, I don't think it's quite as bad as Shrek's. It's clear these unique molded heads just didn't translate very well into LEGO. Now for the parts I actually like, her torso and dress pieces are really good, and we have a severe lack of dark green castle parts, so I'm really happy we have these. The dress is incredibly versatile since it only has some simple lines printed on it, and the torso could work really well for royalty from factions like the Green Dragons if it has a backside without the lime green neck printing. I think there's a good chance it will, but even if it doesn't, you could always add a lime green cape and still use a yellow or flesh-toned head. She also includes Donkey, which is a welcome surprise, and I think she'll probably end up being one of the most sought after figures in the series. Assuming she has some good back printing, this is an easy S tier for me, and these parts will immediately go into my Green Dragon Queen. A fan favorite so far seems to be Thelonious, and I see two groups who really like this guy: Shrek fans and Batman fans. He seems to be a popular character in general, and his parts are great for making your own or upgrading Batman minifigures thanks to the dual molded arms and legs. What I really like though is the unique executioner hood. The glowing eyes wouldn't work great for human minifigures, but I'm thinking of making some humanoid cultists with these hoods, and I also love getting different printed and dual molded arms. And these light gray and black ones should be useful for all sorts of custom minifigures. I think I'll put him in A tier. A bit of a disappointing figure for a lot of Shrek fans is Gingy, because he's way bigger than he should be. In the movies, he's the actual size of a gingerbread cookie, but for some reason, they made him a full-sized figure in the CMF. I honestly see zero reason why they couldn't have made him the size of a nano figure and included him with someone else. Visually, he looks like Gingy, but the scale is just completely off. If you want a standard gingerbread man for a Christmas display, this guy works great, but in terms of movie accuracy and part versatility, he isn't great, so I'm gonna put him in D tier. Dragon is another figure where the scale really hurts it. She's a full-size dragon in the movies, and they've literally turned her into a normal-sized minifigure here. Also, Dragon is generally mostly dark red, so making her mostly pink is an interesting choice that I'm not a fan of. Aside from the inaccuracies, the face looks a little weird, although it's definitely not as bad as Shrek or Fiona, which is nice. I'm happy we got this wing piece in dark red though, because this could be sick for custom demons or other fantasy creatures, and for that reason alone, I'll put her in C tier. A minifigure I wasn't expecting to like as much as I did is the Fairy Godmother. She honestly has some fantastic parts, including printed arms, a new hair mold, and plus the fairy wings and wand are cool as well. I'm not the biggest fan of the face print for custom figures since the glasses limit its uses, but in terms of accuracy to the movie, it looks really good. This is another torso where I'm curious to see the back printing because right now it would be difficult to use with yellow minifigures. However, if there isn't any exposed skin printed on the back, it could work well for almost any skin tone. I think it would fit especially well for 2007 Crown Knight royalty, although I'm definitely going to try it out with a few different factions that use blue in their color schemes. I was really on the brink between S and A here, but I wanted to keep the list fairly balanced, so I'll put her in A tier. Pinocchio is interesting because while he translated surprisingly well into a LEGO minifigure in terms of print accuracy, something about him just doesn't look right. Pinocchio is very thin in the movies, so seeing him as a normal-sized minifigure looks a bit strange. The head is also probably the biggest issue. I can't tell if it looks odd because LEGO translated it poorly, or if it's just because Pinocchio already has a pretty unusual design. He does come with one of the 3 blind mice, which is a slight redemption, but it's not enough to put him any higher than D tier in my opinion. Puss in Boots is slightly better when it comes to the face mold and printing, but a lot of people have pointed out that the version from the set just looks better. I definitely would have preferred that version, but as a stylized Puss in Boots, the figure still looks pretty good. The one thing that would have taken this figure up a tier in terms of customizability is if the hat was removable, but I don't believe it is. The head could potentially work for a Tabaxi character, so there's some fantasy customization potential here, but it looks a little overly detailed in my opinion. He also comes with another one of the 3 blind mice, which is cool, so I'll put him in C tier. I was really hoping Prince Charming would have his chainmail armor, but this royal outfit still looks great. LEGO really went all out with the dual molded legs and printed arms in this series, and I love seeing that. I'm glad that even licensed CMFs still get the same level of detail, despite the licensing fees costing LEGO a bit extra. His head and hair also look very similar to Season 1 Jaime Lannister, so this could be a great option if you want to make some custom Game of Thrones characters. I'm also definitely going to use this torso and legs for a Crown Knight King or Prince. I'm going to have to put him in S tier because he's a great figure overall, and almost every part has some use for customs. I'm ranking these relative to each other, so while he might not be S tier compared to something like the Dungeons & Dragons CMF, he is definitely one of the best figures in this series. I was really excited when I first heard about the leak to see what the big bad wolf would look like, but I completely forgot about the bonnet. It's definitely not very useful for most custom fantasy wolf minifigures. The head itself also looks way too human in my opinion. Once again, it resembles the character from the movie, but it just doesn't translate very well into LEGO. The torso and dress are pretty average, although we do get the third blind mouse. Unfortunately, that's still not enough to save this figure, so I'll have to put him in D tier. Merlin was a bit of an unexpected choice for this series, but he's actually a pretty solid figure. His arm and torso printing are really nice, his hat and head would work great for generic fantasy wizards, and he looks very accurate to the movie. His legs look a little goofy, but he doesn't actually wear pants in the movie, so it makes perfect sense. I'm definitely going to be upgrading some dark blue torsos with his arms, and overall, he's a really versatile figure. I'm going to put him in A tier. Finally, there's Lord Farquaad, and I definitely underestimated him when the initial list came out. He looks really accurate to the movie, and on top of that, almost every piece on this figure can be used for other fantasy minifigures in some way. The head is great for a slightly evil or angry looking character, the hat and hair combo can be used for a variety of minifigures such as merchants or royalty, capes are always great to get, the torso works well for nobles and royalty, the arms could be useful for a ton of different figures including fancy knights, and the dual molded short legs and new colors are always valuable. He also comes with the magic mirror, which is a really fun accessory that I might try to use in a mock. This figure is just great all around, so I have to give him S tier. Looking at the whole series, my favorite parts are definitely Fiona's dress, Merlin's torso, Prince Charming's torso and legs, the fairy godmother's dress, and Lord Farquaad's arms. Once these release, I'll definitely be making a full video customizing these figures and seeing just how many fantasy characters I can create with their parts. While I don't see a chase figure like the Bionicle Cosplayer or Wolfpack Beastmaster, I do think some of these figures are going to be much more popular than others. I'm curious to see which ones end up being the hardest to find once they release. Overall, this series is interesting because while I completely understand some of the criticism it's receiving, I think these figures have a lot of potential for custom minifigures. In my opinion, that's one of the best parts about LEGO, taking pieces from different sets and making something completely your own. If you're someone like me who spends way too much time making custom LEGO figures, I definitely encourage you to pick up some of these and see what you can create with the parts. Yes, these figures are very cartoonish, but they also come from a cartoon, so I think you have to judge them based on that. I'm excited to see the future of LEGO Shrek because getting figures like an armored Prince Charming, human Fiona, the King and Queen, or Robin Hood would be awesome for fantasy fans. Let me know what you think about these minifigures in the comments and if you agree or disagree with my ranking. Also, feel free to leave your own tier list. Despite not having a ton of castle sets, little things like this are always great, and I'll definitely be hunting for these day one. If you want to stay up to date on LEGO castle content or don't want to miss me customizing them, make sure to subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching.